for generations. I would like us to take a minute to recall an extraordinary American sacrifice made by US sailors off the coast of Norway in the winter of 1945. Henry Bacon was a US Liberty ship, one of almost 3,000 built during the war. While the ship itself may have been ordinary, her crew made her extraordinary. On February 23rd, 1945, the ship was transporting very valuable cargo. 19 Norwegian refugees making the dangerous journey from the Arctic Russian city of Murmansk to Britain. The Norwegian refugees had fought, evaded, and barely escaped from Nazi occupiers in northern Norway. Their homes had been burned down, their bodies exposed to the Arctic cold. The last hope was the American steamship. Due to technical issues, SS Henry Bacon was separated from the rest of the convoy and its protective escorts. The ship was attacked and overwhelmed by Nazi submarines and bombers off the coast of Norway. The American sailors resisted and fought bravely for more than 1 hour. When a torpedo struck the starboard side, the ship started to sink. With only 2 lifeboats available, Captain Alfred Carini faced an impossible decision. Who should have the chance to live? The decision was to leave the lifeboats to the Norwegians. 22 Americans were lost, 19 Norwegians were saved. I wanted to tell you this story in gratitude and as an example of heroism, and to exemplify that great deeds can happen in the most desperate of times. This story continues to impress and inspire and to shape our view on the importance of having allies. In May 1945, a short while later, came the end of the human suffering and sacrifice of the war. And a brighter future was pointed out. As a military officer, I would like to emphasize 2 fundamental experiences that shaped our future. First, in April 1940, and the following months at the beginning of the war, Norway suffered defeat following the strategic surprise by an overwhelming Nazi force. After the liberation in 1945, therefore the new slogan which shaped the armed forces for decades to come was "Never again." Norwegian defense should never again be as unprepared as it was before the war. We developed our services in a way that allowed us to mobilize soldiers and materiel in the frame of the total defense if threats should arise. Second, in April 1940, when the war came to Norway, we were neutral as a nation. This policy did not protect Norway from Nazi attack and occupation. During the war, the Norwegian government established offices in London, and the Norwegian armed forces fought alongside allies, both at home and abroad. After the liberation in 1945, the new slogan for the policymakers was "One for all for one." Norway learned that our defense depended upon allies. We joined the North Atlantic Treaty as one of the 12 founding members in 1949. Our remembrance today is to celebrate the effort and courage that pointed out a new future. In the military, the main lessons was to prepare our armed forces and to make sure we kept our allies close. The US soon proved to be our most important ally. I would like to quote a very recent American Secretary of Defense, James Mattis. He has repeatedly emphasized the strategic importance of strong ties with friendly nations. He has said that nations with allies thrive, and those without them wither. Norway had to rebuild the entire society after the war. The US Secretary of State, George Marshall, launched the European Recovery Program to restart the European economy. From 1948, also Norway was among the recipients. The US from the 1950s also contributed to rebuilding the defense forces in Europe through the Weapons Assistance Program. Norway received, among other items, a large number of combat aircraft through the 50s and 60s. Throughout the Cold War, the links between the US and Norway grew stronger. The partnership between our two countries is based on mutual interests, common values. The relationship is built in the idea that American and European security are inseparable.